Begin.
As we all know, my father is retiring. He's been with the Parma School District since 1989, and for those 31 long years, he has sunk thousands of hours into fostering a learning environment in which all students can thrive. I was his student myself, not just in high school, but from the moment that I had the capacity to be one. He never told me tall tales when it came to biology. With the stork, it was always science, in fact. When I asked where baby horses came from, he didn't pull any punches, and he told me. Mom had to come get me early from my kindergarten class after I proudly displayed this information at show and tell. My father has been my teacher in just about every aspect of my life, but one lesson has stuck with me above all others. There was a day when I was young that he took me into the round pen and he put a lunging stick in my hands. "This is the line we draw," he said, "and we must hold it. You draw this line in the sand and you let no one cross it. Not the horse, not your sisters, not your teachers, and not your bosses. This line exists wherever we go. It is how much we will give and give and give until we have given enough. It is the end of compromise and the strength we must draw on to say no more." I still remember the heat on my face, the sand between my hand and the stick, and that red horse looking at me, asking. I have held this sentiment close to my heart my whole life, but I would not have remembered it so well if the person who taught it to me hadn't demonstrated it every day, so clearly, so firmly, and so brightly. We have all learned something similar from this life, from our mothers and our teachers, our fathers and our mentors. When I asked my sister what the most important lesson she learned from our father was, her answer, in less polite terms, was not to be a crybaby. Meg Sharkey is definitely the rub a little dirt in it type, especially when it comes to his girls. To this day, we run into former students everywhere we go, students who remember his name and his face even years later. They remember his stories and the lessons behind them, especially the ones about Crazy Oli. I think we can gather from Oli, especially, that in this game of life, rock beats face. That's a kind of biology, right? These students tell us of how they remember the story about the boy who tried to outrun the firework taped to his pants, or the numerous fights in the back alleys of Butte. Hundreds of those students have gone on to become doctors and nurses, biologists and chemists, all because of the love of knowledge my father fostered and cherished in his classroom. He taught us, step by step, the intricacies of a DNA ladder, the rungs it's made of the adenine, the cytosine, and the guanine, and the thymine that build it all. And he did it in such a way that many of us still remember years later. There was the genomes and the Punnett squares, Gregor Mendel and his little flowers that became the basis for modern genetics. Even the parts of the cell were memorable, all the way from the mitochondria down to the little Golgi bodies and the killer lysosomes. He taught not just biology, but the history, too, and that made it memorable. It made it mean something. Dad has definitely left his handprints on this school and its students, its teachers and principals, and in turn, those students, those teachers, those principals leave theirs on the next generation and the one that comes after that, and with that comes change. My dad dreams of his retirement being filled with long days of sun up to sundown fishing, of playing guitar to cats and birds, and turning wood on his lathe until he is drowning in art. But he will inevitably be roped into some project of my mother's and my sister's, but doubtless he will be there with a smile on his face. I hope you have a great retirement, Dad.